So Sri Lanka is interesting, and our tour guide was explaining this to us. They were known and traded a lot in spices, especially cinnamon, which was very valuable thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago, even. And at first the Arabs came and controlled the country in the spice trade. So in order to get the Arabs to leave, they had to turn to the Dutch. And then the Dutch did the same thing as the Arabs, and they stuck around and they didn't want to leave. And to get rid of the Dutch, they had to turn to, or excuse me, it was the Portuguese. The Portuguese came and kicked out the Arabs, and then the Portuguese didn't want to leave. And then in order to get the Portuguese to leave, they had to get the help of the Dutch, and the Dutch didn't want to leave. And so eventually, it was the British who came and kicked out them, and then the British came and stayed until 1948 when they eventually left. After what he says, they got everything they needed, so they had no point in staying any longer and left the country finally. So that's kind of like the trade-off of power in this country and who controlled it and why. It was for the spices. Behind me, you can see the Grand Hotel, and it was built in 1864, and our guy was telling us to just imagine what it must have been like in 1864 to have the Grand Hotel and no traffic and no city. It must have been absolutely beautiful. I also want to quickly point out the lack of trash anywhere. Sri Lanka is so darn clean. Well, there's a little right there, but nowhere's their trash. So here we are at the artificial beach in Colombo, and you can see we have this retaining wall all along the outside that shields from the ocean. And before this, Colombo didn't have anywhere where you could swim or hang out on the beach or do these activities. And now, because of the development, they've created this almost like massive swimming pool on the ocean. And there's shops and places to get food and these covered areas. The project of the artificial city, Port City as it's named, planning to be done in 2030. This is going to become a very popular destination with hotels and other places for people to stay, coming in during the day, soft sand, swim in the water. It's shallow, it's warm. It's going to be very, very popular. It's interesting to see how Sri Lanka is developing. He was just saying that all of this is tied up with money from China right now. So that's where they're getting a lot of the money to do this, which some people agree with and some people have a very strong distaste for, being in business with China like that. But, you know, that's just me repeating the information. They went through a civil war and it ended in 2009 against the Tamil Tigers. And ever since then, they've been kind of like racing to catch up internationally with other countries to offer something that isn't really being offered anywhere else. So in the distance down there, you can see a clock tower. It's the only clock tower in the world that also serves as a lighthouse, which is pretty cool. So you can see this here is a little prison, and there was a king in 1815 who did a lot of dealings with the British, and they don't like that king. He made too many bad deals with the British, and eventually he was put in this prison right here, which is now downtown. But anyway, this prison is where he was kept back in the 1800s, the early 1800s, before he was moved to another cell and ultimately assassinated. But yeah, I mean, look at this thing. It's just a tiny little cell. So here's an old bank, Sri Lankan bank, and it's called the Bank of Ceylon. Interestingly enough, that was the name of this country before it was Sri Lanka, which is Ceylon. Also like the tea, which Sri Lanka is very well known for. So yeah, it's the old name of this country, Ceylon. So here we are at one of the nicest seafood restaurants in the world, the Ministry of Crab. How legendary, how expensive, you might ask? Take a look at this. We have all sorts of different crabs for sale. So a half a kilo crab, $60. So let's just go all the way on up the list to Crabzilla. $320 for a 2-kilogram crab. Okay, we got the same with the prawns here. We've got the black tiger prawn, and it comes all the way up to Prawnzilla, $35. Wow. This is also an old Dutch hospital that was converted into bars and restaurants and pubs and things. But you can see the architecture is designed because it was very hot. So this is a hot country, and the draft comes down and swoops out through the entrance and cools it off. We are here at St. Anthony's Shrine, the site of the 2018 Easter bombing attacks. This is a very well-respected area, so among all faiths, so it wasn't just Christians, but also Buddhists and Hindus who were killed in the terrorist attack of 2018. from the attack. So all of Sri Lanka is about 26 million people. I want to say Delhi's like 31 million, which is just crazy. It's so small. Take a look here, you can see the red brick mosque. Absolutely stunning piece of architecture. And at the very top, you can't see it, but there is a what, Megan? Pomegranate.
Pomegranate.
There it is. And why is there a pomegranate?
Because why not?
No, well, okay, so...
I wasn't listening.
Oh. Let me explain why there's a pomegranate on top of this mosque. The only mosque in the world with a pomegranate on top of it. That is because a lot of Arabic people, Muslims, used to come here and trade way back when, and their number one resource to trade was pomegranate. And the Sri Lankans became very close with these Muslims, and they agreed that they could build a temple here because there was no place for them to worship when they came. And so they built this red brick mosque that we see with the pomegranate on top. Now, this is the new face of the mosque. All right. We're gonna go check out the old face, which is down and around the corner.
Should we cross here?
We should cross. Yep. And here you can see the old face. Once I get through. All right. It's the old face of the mosque. So here we have a canal line that was built through the middle of the city by the British. And it was built because it was easier to get goods to and from ships out to the ocean. So over there is the harbor. It was easy to get spices and goods from ships onto land and vice versa with this canal being here. So that's why they built it, because it was much faster. Take a look at this super cool Hindu temple, Gopuram, which means City of Gods. I'm going to zoom in so you can hopefully just catch these colors and the intricate details. The rules, what you can and can't wear. Here we are at the White House of Sri Lanka. Quite literally, that's what it's supposed to be. A little less security than the one in the United States. And on this side, look at that golden Buddha. Isn't that cool? This whole area is known as Cinnamon Garden. Back in the day, cinnamon trees were grown here. Now there's only one left. As you can see, it's all modern city, but that's what this area was known for, and its name is Cinnamon Garden. So we got some coconut, king coconut? Yes, king coconut. It's more tender than coconuts we've had. And after you finish the juice, they chop off another piece at the top and you use this as a spoon. And you scoop up that delicious meat.
Whoa.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Megan, you're not gonna like this. I'll take care of it.
Yeah, whatever.
I'll eat it for you. Well, Megan, do you want to explain the significance of this bus right here, this Mercedes?
This bus was Sri Lanka's very first bus for public transportation from 1958, January 1st, as you can see on the bus. And it's a Mercedes.
Here we can see the Buddha at 26 leaving his house and going to do his deep meditation. You can see this is pre-enlightenment, pre-enlightenment. This is post-enlightenment. The difference being at the top of the head, you see the flame, which signifies the enlightenment. Any pictures of the Buddha without the flame is pre-enlightenment. So before he was enlightened, enlightenment. See up there, enlightened.
I have no idea.
Nope. So here is the Bodha, or ficus tree, which is what Buddha meditated under when he came to enlightenment. And after he came to enlightenment, the Buddha came back to the ficus tree to pay his respects and stayed with it for 7 consecutive days. But now, since people don't have the time to spend 7 days to pay their respects, what they do is walk around the tree 7 times and do the rituals. So I was told. So when people accept Buddhism and they come to follow its teachings, they make donations of their worldly possessions. And so that's what we're looking at here. These are all donations from people after they've accepted Buddhism. And I mean, we have things that are gold, things that are jade, these ornate pots. I mean, this whole place is filled with cars, all these different things that people give when they want to become simple and they want to be Buddhist. So they give all of this stuff to the temple. And there's just treasures on treasures in here. You wouldn't believe it. It's everywhere. Well, that was the last stop for our day trip tour, but before we head back to the hotel, I think we're going to get some ice cream. Yeah, we're going to get taken to a really nice ice cream spot. Megan's very excited.
Ice cream!